One of Australia's leading economists says another election is a better choice for the country than implementing the policies of Queensland Independent MP Bob Katter. Curtin University's Professor Peter Kenyon says most of the demands Mr Katter has put to Labor and the Coalition are a recipe for economic disaster that will financially cripple most Australians. Andrew Robertson reports.
Before the election, Bob Katter's views on Australia's future would not have been high on the agenda for either the government or the opposition. But that was then and this is now. Bob Katter, Tony Windsor and Rob Oakeshott will decide who Australia's next government will be. And Mr Katter has already issued a 20-point wish list as the price of his support.
I think that if it comes down to having to agree to a significant or indeed even a minor part of the Katter agenda, the cost is too high to Australia. We've spent 30 years reforming the economy to get away from the sorts of policies that he's recommending.
Among Bob Katter's demands, no carbon tax, no emissions trading scheme and no mining tax, a 5% tariff on all imports, 22% ethanol in petrol, an end to the freely floating Australian dollar, a ban on foreign ownership of Australian land and buildings, and dismantling the Coles-Woolworths oligopoly in the retail sector. Curtin University's Professor Peter Kenyon says the major parties should call another election before they agree to Bob Katter's agenda. And Professor Kenyon says he's very disappointed that as negotiations over a minority government take place, Treasurer Wayne Swan has refused to rule out agreeing to new tariffs if Labor hangs on.
I think that this is one of the tragedies that we have in these situations where absolute minority interests and those which have no basis in economic theory or in empirical economics at all are being touted as possible policy moves.
While Tony Windsor and Rob Oakeshott have not issued Katter-style manifestos, all three independents are supporters of Labor's planned national broadband network because of the improved services which have been promised to rural areas such as the ones they represent. But Jason Ashton, who runs minor telco Big Air, believes that support for the NBN may be misplaced.
The government's policy is to deliver fibre into some of the major centres, but for the vast majority of premises out in a lot of those electorates, those regional and rural electorates, they're going to be getting a wireless or a satellite-based service anyway, under either policy.
Where Jason Ashton thinks the independents will serve the national interest is in forcing a debate on whether Australia really needs a national broadband network costing more than $40 billion.
And I'm not criticising the ALP's project. I think the fact that there is debate for communications has been a good thing. And I think right now what we need is some more study, some more reasoned thinking around what's the best mix of technologies to deliver the long-term economic benefits to this country.
Tony Windsor and Rob Oakeshott have both indicated that tackling climate change is high on their agendas. Fiona Wayne from Environment Business Australia believes their influence in the hung parliament will speed up the introduction of a price on carbon.
They certainly understand the issues at stake. They understand the opportunity side of it. And I think it's the opportunity side that has been sadly missing in politics nationally for the last 2 to 3 years. In fact, longer than that, I would say 12 to 13 years.
While Fiona Wayne disagrees with Bob Katter's rejection of a price on carbon or an emissions trading scheme, she cautiously supports his call for compulsory ethanol in petrol.
I think petrol being replaced by biofuels over the longer term is a very good idea, but I'd be wary about going so high on ethanol when it's ethanol from a crop that we're talking about. So we're competing with a food chain and we're competing with soil minerals and nutrients at the same time.
Despite his criticisms, Professor Peter Kenyon also believes there's merit in at least one of Bob Katter's proposals, and that's the call to end Coles and Woolworths' dominance of the retail sector. He says there's ample precedent in other countries for oligopolies and monopolies to be broken up.